If you think you could never be vegan, you're in the right place. If you think there's something big that you'd really like to do, but it's probably too late, you're in the right place. My name is Michelle Olander. I think there's never been a more important time to move in a vegan direction. So I'm here every week to cheer you on and show you how to veg your best. Episode 151, Veganizing French Cuisine with Sarala Terpstra. Welcome, my veg your besties, and bienvenue. You know, there is a very well-established genre about Brits and Americans moving to France from back from Hemingway and Gertrude Stein through James Baldwin, Peter Mayle. More recently, a very big TV series, which I haven't seen yet, Emily in Paris. Today's guest is Sarala Terpstra, and she began veganizing French cuisine even before she moved to a beautiful village in France with her husband and young daughter. As many of you know, French cuisine is not just food in France, right? It's part of a fierce pride and the cultural patrimony of the country. And that has sometimes, maybe often, presented a challenge for vegan Francophiles like myself. And we've talked about that here on the pod. Well, I learned about Sarala when she was on a previous Veg Your Best guest, Annie Sargent's fantastic podcast, Join Us in France. Sarala is a plant-based cookbook author, Instagram food blogger, influencer, cooking teacher, and Francophile. The beautiful photos on her Instagram feed are really like being transported to France. Sarala will join us today on the pod to talk about French food and how she gets to the essence of it without meat, fish, dairy, the joys and the complications of eating plant-based in France, the struggle of wanting to fit in respectfully to a culture where animal products are often glorified. And there's much, much more today. We'll have links to Sarala's Instagram, her books, her online cooking class for making vegan quiche in the show notes. But for now, I hope you'll just enjoy. Sarala Terpstra, welcome to Veg Your Best.
Thank you for having me.
I'm delighted to have you. I'm a Francophile. Everybody who knows me knows I'm a Francophile. I also am an Italophile. I'm also an Anglophile, but I'm a Francophile. And we're going to talk about this, but French cuisine can be challenging for those of us who want to maintain a plant-based and vegan lifestyle. And you have done the kind of Emily in Paris dream. You're an American. I actually haven't seen Emily in Paris, so maybe I'm making a mistake. But American, you've moved to France. You're living in the south of France, the dream, and you are veganizing French cuisine for the rest of us.
Yes, that's right. And it does sound kind of crazy, I guess.
How long have you been in France, Sarala?
A year and a half.
Year and a half. So
yeah.
Still kind of new. Did you know much about where you were moving to before you got to the south?
I really didn't. I'd visited in the past. I just knew that the south seemed very romantic, and Provence was a little out of my price range and a lot more competitive. So I chose the other south of France, which is Occitanie, and it's a very lovely area. I'm 10 minutes from the Mediterranean Sea, so I'm really enjoying it so far.
And you have a young child.
Yes.
You have a 4-year-old. Yeah.
My daughter.
Yeah. And is she fluent in French already?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's getting there. Yeah.
They pick up a little faster than we do. So let me ask you, so you have the dream job of veganizing French cuisine and in the south of France, 10 minutes from the Mediterranean. Tell my listeners a little bit about how you move towards a vegan lifestyle.
Of course. Well, my mom is from India, and Indians, as many people probably know, eat a primarily vegetarian diet because of the religion Hinduism. So my mom what I was raised on a mostly vegetarian diet, even though we weren't strict vegetarians growing up. It was just very normal for me in our house with Indian cuisine for vegetables to be the star of the show. And it was not weird to not have animal products during a dinner. So I think I already had a love for vegetable forward food. But actually, I was living in China teaching English, and my husband got really bad food poisoning over Thanksgiving weekend. And he was like, I can't look at animal products right now. Can we please just be vegan for a month? I'm so disgusted. I just, because he had such bad food poisoning that I was like, sure, yeah, let's do it. And then while we went vegan for a month, I realized how fun vegan food was, how many new techniques of cooking there were, how many ingredients I wasn't using that were available, and that I felt really good, and that I was eating so many vegetables, and realizing it also made me realize how much animal product I really was eating when I took it out. Because I used to always be one of those people who was like, I really don't eat a lot of meat. I don't eat. But when I actually tried to cut it fully out, that's when I realized I was eating a lot more. So the whole thing was very eye-opening. And through that, I watched the documentary, What the Health. I'm sure you've seen it. And it was just really opened my eyes to the environmental impacts, the cruelty of it, all the factors that go into, and why there's so many good reasons to go vegan. So that's when my husband and I were like, we actually at that moment were like, let's stick with a vegan diet. So after that documentary, so we decided to stick with it.
Those documentaries have been so influential for a lot of people. There's about 6 or 7 that most people I know point to as being kind of the last straw, the thing that really makes them take it very, very seriously.
Definitely.
So when you moved to France, had you already been worrying about how you were going to make French cuisine work for yourself as a vegetarian and vegan moving to France? Were you like going, oh, how's this going to work? Because I know, I mean, I've been a visitor in France many times, and it's so much easier now. But still,
Before we moved, I was like, I'll just keep an open mind. But I kept reading that it's so hard, it's impossible, it's this and that. And I was like, I'll be okay. I can figure it out. I've lived a lot of places. I've moved around. I'll figure it out. And we were, the first year we were here, we did stick with a strictly vegan diet, but it actually kind of started with my daughter starting school, which was just this past fall. She eats at the canteen, and they have a vegetarian day once a week. But other than that, it's meat and dairy at every meal. So we didn't have the option to keep her home for lunch all the time because we both work. So we just had to make the decision that we had to work, and we talked with them, and they just were like, no. We said, oh, do you have more? They're like, nope. And they looked at us like we were aliens. So it's and we live in a very small town in the south of France. So that's where we kind of were like, okay, we need to maybe for now adapt to our situation. And then also just socially, I've found that saying that you're vegan is people don't really get it, at least where I live. They're like, okay, so you don't eat beef, but you eat chicken and you eat fish. And I'm like, no. And then the more we get into it, it feels like it kind of limits the ability to socialize or to meet people. And as new immigrants, we are really trying to integrate, to plug in. So for now, we have decided that at home we'll be vegan, and when we go out, to the best of our ability, we'll support the vegan restaurants and businesses. But when we don't have an option, we are flexible now.
Yeah, I think that's a common problem people have is social feeling as if they're going to cut off relationships with people if they stick to a strict vegan diet. So you call yourself plant-based, but your work is 100% vegan right now.
Yes. So I call myself plant-based now after moving to France. I don't call myself vegan, but my passion and my work is for supporting vegan food, and I like to, wherever I can find a vegan restaurant, I always love to try it. I like supporting other vegan French cooks in France, and for my recipes, I never use animal products.
So let's talk about some of them, because I have both of the books. Do you have more than 2 currently, or two?
No, just two. Yeah.
The two, not just two. Two is an achievement. Don't say just. But so the plant soiree and vegan French favorites. Now, which one came first, Sarla?
Vegan French favorites came first. Yes.
Okay. And so if we scroll through it, it's all the kind of classic sorts of recipes that if you were at a French restaurant, you would see.
That's what I was going for. So I'm happy to hear you say that.
Yeah. And the recipes, I have not cooked from it yet because honestly, I don't cook that much. I cook lunches and I'm an assembler. I'm not a recipe person in general. But you have cassoulet, you have crepes, you have the buckwheat galette.
Yes.
Take a look through. Tell me about one of them that was particularly easy, that really embraced that France has many plant-based vegan ingredients that you can easily use. And tell me also about one that was more daunting for you.
Oh, well, I would say probably the most famous French recipe that is actually just vegan is ratatouille. Like people probably recognize it from the movie. Actually, in the movie got it wrong. That's a tian, a vegetable tian, and the ratatouille is actually a very rough-looking stew. But ratatouille is traditionally vegan, made with olive oil and vegetables. So no animal products in ratatouille. So that one I actually didn't have to tweak anything for that recipe. But as far as challenging, the souffle was really hard and took I can't count how many tries and maybe tears too, because souffle is like a towering thing of egg. And to achieve this it's made with egg whites, whipped egg whites. And when they bring it to you in the restaurant, it's like standing up tall and then it deflates, which is like the novelty of it. So trying to get something that would kind of tower and be fluffy and eggy, with vegan ingredients, that took a long time, and that tasted good too, was hard. So in the end, I actually found out that tofu was my best option, tofu with baking powder.
And which kind of tofu do you use? You don't use the firm tofu for that probably, or do you?
I think I actually did use firm tofu in that. I should have my cookbook with me. I'm sorry.
I can look at it right here. Hold on. Is it in
It's under the mains.
Favorites, under the mains.
Yeah,
okay.
Under the mains. I think it was firm tofu, actually.
Spinach souffle, page 60, kids. You're hearing it here. And yeah, firm tofu chopped.
Okay,
milk,
there we go.
Rice flour, nutritional kala namak, which I think is so useful. Did you use kala namak before as a Indian American? Did you use kala namak as a child growing up?
I always thought it was disgusting growing up because the smell. And I was like, Mom, I don't want that in the house. Oh, and she's like, no, you don't understand. It adds such a good flavor. And she's right. But I thought it was gross. And now I'm like, wow, it's amazing.
I mean, I don't think I discovered it till my 50s. And I was thinking, it is so good. Now, obviously you don't use very much, but my husband uses it when he makes an avocado, like a breakfast sandwich of any kind with some avocado or some, some grilled tofu or something. He loves it.
Me too. That's my favorite breakfast sandwich, is just a fried avocado or fried tofu, avocado, and kala namak, and hot sauce too.
That's my level of cooking. I am capable of more, but I've decided, I don't know. My husband likes to just go out every night. So now that we don't have kids at home, we have grandkids. So when they're all here, we cook more. But typically day to day, my husband likes to go out every night, I think, at this point in his life. So at home, lunch is our cooking time, and it's mostly assemblage. To Frenchify it, it's assemblage. So that's interesting because French food, maybe not of the South where you live, but the kind of classic gastronomy of French, you kind of talked about how the souffle, the novelty of it being served towering and then deflating. There's a lot of theater in kind of the classic French gastronomy.
Right, exactly. And I always say that not that French food doesn't taste good. It does, but it's one of those cuisines where the flavor, I don't think, is the most important part. It's the presentation. It's the romance and the experience of it that seems to be the focus. So that's been really fun to do that with vegan food.
Now, what I do in my coaching, so I have the podcast where I present a lot of different people's journeys towards plant-based or vegan practices. how people live, how they came to it. In my coaching, I work a lot with people who are finding it tricky to move in this direction. And among the many, many topics people say is a deal breaker is what you've said, feeling some social isolation from not being welcome or feeling comfortable with other people. Another one is that sophistication. You've been in that kind of world where you travel and you want to experience things. And French cuisine is synonymous with a cultural sophistication. And it can feel a little bit that you're opting out of it or that you don't appreciate that. And I think it's going to be a process for us to learn. I think it's going to be a process for the French to learn that their cuisine can be more compassionate.
Yeah.
It's created from a different time and space. They made a virtue out of using all the ingredients, all the parts of the animals. What have been some ingredients that you've found in France that you didn't really have too much experience with when you were home in the States?
Oh, comes to mind right away. We have leeks in the US, but they're not popular. Would you agree with that?
I think so. I think that's true. I think they're kind of passed over in the
Yeah, they're always like kind of by the fancy vegetables at the supermarket. But here they're like the equivalent of an onion. They're not fancy at all, and they use them in everything. So I've learned that leeks can really give a sweet flavor. They can be used raw or cooked, usually cooked, but they can be good raw too. And they really lend a sweetness to recipes, almost like an onion, but sweeter. So leeks are something I really enjoy. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, walnut oil. That's another one that's kind
Oh,
of
I don't think I've
artis.
used it.
Yeah, and I've seen it in the US in like either like nicer markets or European specialty markets and things like that. And it's usually quite expensive. The irony is on the back of the walnut oil in France, on the back of the bottle, it always says the walnuts are from the US. So
Oh,
that's just how it goes, I guess.
that surprises me, actually. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure we grow many of them, but I would think the French or somewhere in the European Union they grow them
Yeah, maybe they
exquisitely.
did traditionally, or maybe there's been issues in recent years. I don't know if it's always been that way, but a lot of the walnut oils I see lately, and they're not expensive here, say walnuts from the US. So
And are they cold pressed the way?
I I think so. And
Hmm.
I love it because they use it in baking and salads, and it just gives this like rich, nutty, almost kind of popcorn like
Hmm.
flavor to food. So I've embraced that a lot too.
I'm going to put that on my list of things to experiment with because it sounds like it's something that even if you're not really cooking large, long recipes, you could play with a little bit
Oh
of
yeah.
walnut or in a
Like if you just
salad.
would throw it in a salad, yeah. With I like balsamic vinegar.
Now, with your process, you've written 2 books. Your process, how did that develop for you? Had you done that sort of kind of organized? Because I think it's one of those. Okay, I'm going to dial that back. I think writing a cookbook is something a lot of people think they can do, and
Hmm.
it's not that easy.
Yeah.
It looks much easier than it is. So tell me about how you approached it.
Well, I'm still figuring out my process, and I feel like writing the past 2 books, I've learned so much. So I guess one of the things is to learn something, you just kind of have to do it, and you'll make your mistakes, and then. So I will say my first 2 books are not perfect. They're very small for one. The first one I wrote as thinking, okay, because I had my Instagram followers saying, I wish you had a blog, but I didn't want to start a blog, but I needed somewhere to put my recipes. So I was like, I'll write a book and like self-publish it. But then after I put it out, I was making sales on Amazon that weren't to my followers, organic, and I was getting interest from people outside. So then I realized there's a lot of potential. So I guess the way I approached it though was I did do a lot of research about self-publishing. And I went through Amazon Kindle publishing, which is great if you're just starting because it's very laid out. It's clearly laid out. The other platform that's great is Ingram Spark, but I didn't approach Ingram Spark until later because they're a little more intimidating
Mm-hmm.
to use. So I guess I just I just used Amazon. And what I did was I took a month off of Instagram to put to photograph all the recipes, because, when you're on Instagram, sometimes that can suck up a lot of time. So I just told my followers, I'm piecing out for a month and I'll see you in a month after I'm done like photographing my cookbook. So every day I would just make a recipe and take pictures. But I'd also been kind of collecting the recipes for a year. So it was a work in process.
So you said just a few times, and I just want to make sure that nobody thinks it's just, you didn't just take photographs. I mean, the photographs are beautiful. Your work is really, really, Kindle, I think, is great how it has maybe democratized publishing for people, and we can find somebody who's doing what we're excited about because they're able to quickly get it to market. I think so many people have this goal to create something like this. And you said something really valuable. You said, well, I just started, and you learn on the way, right?
Yes. Yes. And actually, now for my next cookbook, I've learned so much just by putting 2 cookbooks out there that I would not have learned I could have read till I was blue in the face, but until I actually did it, it didn't click. So now, having gone through the process, I see exactly, okay, this is what it means to write and self-publish a book. These are the steps I have to take. And so for my next book, my plan is that it will be much better than my first 2, because it will build on the experience, and also just having spent more time in France, things like that. So I'm hoping my next book will be larger and even more useful and helpful.
So this is, I just don't think there's anything more important than what you're saying there. It's just, you have to start. You cannot wait until you've got it all figured out. And you cannot be afraid that you might go, oh, I wish I had done a little differently, or now I know what I could have done differently. That is the goal, is to make enough mistakes that you get better at something, right?
True. And I would apply that to just even moving to France, to vegan French cooking. I just started. I didn't ask for permission from the French Culture Society, if there is. I don't know if that
is. I think there is. The Ministère de la Culture Française. Yeah, I think there is.
Am I allowed to do this? No. I just was like, I guess we'll just start,
Wait till they find out.
Yeah. I'll be banned from France.
Well, I know you I think I first found you because you talked to my friend Annie Sargent, who has a marvelous podcast, Join Us in France. And maybe she's got 500, 600 episodes. I don't even know how many she's got now. And she's wonderful. And she's a cook. And I tested her Tillon des Légumes when she was putting out her cookbook, which is decidedly not vegan, but she's very vegan friendly. So I learned about you through her, and I heard her saying, "Oh, that's not how you do it in France."
Yeah. Yeah, it was intimidating to go on her show because she is authentic. She's authentically French herself, and her show is very much about like true French culture. And it's not a vegan focused show, but like you said, she is vegan, open-minded to vegan cooking herself, and she in her cookbook also has vegan options. So she's another, for your listeners, her cookbook is a great resource too.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah. And she's married to an American, I believe. And she spends quite a bit of time in America. And I think she gets Americans in a way that some French people don't want to get us.
That's probably true. Yeah. So for her, it's not like vegan, like, it's more like, okay, yeah, that you can be a different thing than the mainstream, and that's okay.
It is. So now I know you're also working on classes online. Are they online, or are they going to be recorded video classes for cooking?
They're going to be recorded, just because I've tried live in the past, but with my time zone being in Europe and a lot of people who are interested being in North America or Australia, it doesn't work so well. So they're going to be recorded classes. And right now I'm working on my spring edition of the classes.
What is it? What is a spring dish that we should all know about?
I would say what I've been seeing popping up, having been here 2 springs now, I see a lot of quiche and tarts, like sweet tarts. So lemon and strawberry tarts are part of my class, because those are the ones that I see popping up early winter and spring, late winter and spring. And then for the quiche as well, it feels very spring. It's something people would take on a picnic too. And then I'm also doing crepes, both savory and sweet, because they are, this is the time that I see the creperie restaurants starting to open back up. And they feel like a nice transitional food from winter to summer.
Now you have probably, I think most Americans have mushrooms year round, but if in Europe you really see the different seasons of
Yes.
mushrooms, the chanterelle in the spring, or I don't know, what are morels in the spring as well?
Actually, I think I've seen mushrooms. I want to say I saw them in the fall, but I
Oh,
think the area where I live has two seasons, like for the vegetables. So I think it's spring and fall.
mm-hmm.
Something I learned recently about this area. Yeah, but it's true that the seasons are very noted here with food.
In the markets. Now, let us all drool over the kind of marketing you're able to do. You probably have plenty of supermarket type of availability, but do you have some marvelous markets that you recommend within a day drive of your, not a day drive, but to drive around for your shopping?
The best one in this area where I live, and I live in the Languedoc area. Now it's called Occitanie, but a lot of people still refer to it as Languedoc, is Pézenas, which is a small artist medieval town. It's very lovely and it's full of artist shops. But their Saturday market is one of the best in the area. It goes through the whole town, like it's that big.
Hmm.
And it has like the most beautiful produce year round. Just the colors. I didn't know carrots could come in so many different colors, or potatoes. I've seen every color of radish. Like I will buy basil there that's like the size of a small tree for €1. So it's just a great experience for all the senses. And there's nice little cafes that you can that are overlooking the market. So if you want to stop and have a coffee and just watch the market, it's a good way to do that too.
So the name of the town is Pézenas?
It's Pezenas.
Pézenas. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm writing that down also for my next trip. We were talking about my I haven't been to your particular area of France before we hit record. But there's no end to where I want to go before my legs give out and I can't walk up medieval stairs to mountaintop villages.
I'm sure that you'll be going for a long time on your vegan diet.
Well,
So.
yes. Well, that's the plan. That is the plan, part of it. So when you're marketing, you must be developing recipes as you're going through and seeing these beautiful colors and textures and foods that maybe we don't normally see in an American supermarket.
Yeah, that's true. And I've seen other the French people do it, so I've do it too sometimes. Like, how do you recommend cooking this? You ask the farmer or the vendor, and quite often the answer is, oh, just some butter, some garlic, some parsley, like if it comes to a vegetable. So I found that with vegetables, quite often the answer is like just saute it with some butter or olive oil, some herbs, and or they'll say like throw it in a pasta, throw it in in a quiche. So I don't actually find a lot of variety in what they've told me how to cook it, because I think with French cooking, it's not about the trying a million different techniques. It's about the special ingredient itself. Like this radish is here for the next 2 months, or this. So it's the ingredient that is the important part.
That's always what I've found in Europe is that people aren't really like Americans tend to want a different cuisine each night. They want maybe Asian one night, and then they want Italian, then they want, American kind of style cuisine. In Europe, I found people want basically the same thing every night. They want and whatever's in season. And I think that ingredient focus is something that I think Americans more and more are open to, but it is different, isn't it? It's a different approach.
It is, and it's taken some getting used to as an American, where, like you said, because the whole world is on our doorstep in the US, like we're such a diverse country, and we are so mixed, and the melting pot, so we are used to just trying all the flavors, and more flavor the better, more sauce the better. And that's the American style of cooking, is more, and mix all the flavors you can. And in France, it's like the ingredient list of a recipe is like, sometimes I'm like, that's it? 3 ingredients? 4 ingredients? Wow, that's really short. But it's just the way they are, the cooking here. The focus, like you said, is on eating seasonally, and I think being in tune with that too. And one thing I've noticed too with like sauces, they really like, we like these ranch style salad dressings, like thick, all these exciting flavors. And here it's really just vinaigrette for the most part, maybe a few herbs thrown in. So because that way you can taste the flavors of the salad or the cucumber.
Yeah, I think it's, as you say, ingredient and also technique, the approach to the ingredient. Do you know the American, she lived in France forever, and I think she's still alive, Patricia Wells. She's written a lot of great books about French cuisine. I think she worked for the International Herald Tribune. I should have done my research before I mentioned her name, but Patricia Wells, she's done a lot of very plant forward type of work before she's certainly not vegan as far as I know. But she also, her recipes are just very ingredient forward, but how do you cut it? How do you, it's very like this kind of vegetable is best if you chiffonade, or this kind of vegetable is best if you have nice big whole pieces. So, and I think, and that comes from talking to the vendors and talking to the farmers.
Yeah, I think you're right, and she's right, absolutely, about like technique. And for me, being raised on Indian food, where watching my mother, she's a very good cook, and Indian food is delicious, but it's just kind of rough chopped, and it's not about the presentation, it's about the flavor. It's like the opposite of French food, where presentation really is not the focus. It's been a learning experience for me, and I still have to force myself sometimes to just slow down when I'm making a French dish and focus on the presentation.
Yeah, I'm not a presentation person either. I'm like, I just want us all to eat.
Yeah, me too, to be honest.
But that is great. So what are you looking to master in the next couple of years? You've mastered the first 2 books. You're going to put out the videos, the cooking series for spring, and you've got another book in you that you're thinking about. So what are some of your goals coming up?
I think we already talked about one, which is presentation and technique, because I actually wrote the first cookbook before I even moved to France. I was just reading a lot of cookbooks, reading everything I get my hands on, teaching myself. I'd had, experience traveling and studying in France. But now that I live in France, I do feel like I can see so much more of the vision of plant-based cooking and the cultural context that goes with it. So I think my goal for the next few years is to keep adding that cultural context, and to be a learner, because I'm not French. So to be open to learning the culture from French people, and to learn from other vegan French cooks in France. I would love to meet people who run the restaurants here. I live in a small town, but I may be moving to a bigger city this summer. So I think I would like to get to know some of the movers and shakers in the vegan world in France. And my long-term dream is to perhaps run a cooking school or an experience for people who want to come to France but have dietary restrictions, including not just vegan, but gluten-free, soy-free, things like that. Just France in general doesn't cater to that, not yet, to any type of dietary restriction. So my goal is to offer kind of an experience for them, like a tourist experience where you can experience all the beauty of France, but you don't have to worry about what you're going to eat.
Yeah, I think there are some people who are put off or nervous about traveling because they think they don't want to have a conversation in another language with someone every single meal.
Yeah. Exactly.
To be debriefed. I know it slows you down. I at this point in my life, I'm just like, okay, no, that's the conversation we're having, and it'll tax my French skills. And sometimes people are dismissive. In general, the thing I find is that they're not dismissive, but I mean, Paris is different, obviously, but in more provincial areas, they'll just go, okay, well, this is the same as gluten-free. And they just like go, it's all in one.
Full
You're
blob.
just, yeah, you're just difficult.
Have you, when you eat in at a restaurant and they don't have a vegan option, or have you encountered that where you've eaten at a restaurant and you just ask them to
I just
make
asked them
something
to
for you?
make me do, what vegetables do you have? What do you have? Rice? Do you have, is the bread have egg or whatever? And sometimes you have to leave, but very often if you just stay first, very often the first question they'll say no, we don't.
Yeah,
And then you go, really? But I could make me the salad with no egg. Can you make me the, the spinach or the artichokes with no cheese? And they're like, oh, of course. And you're like, okay, that's what I'll
that
have.
will work. Yeah.
But you have to
Yes.
have a little bit, and not every American or traveling in Europe feels like having those conversations. So,
And I think that you're right that that does work. And I've done that. But what I feel is a little sad when I do that because I feel like I'm not getting the full experience. And like, for example, you go to a pizza place, you can always just ask them for a vegetarian pizza without cheese. But it's not very, it's just like, even on their part, it's kind of half-hearted. It's like they don't put passion into it. And I guess that's where I would like to maybe offer an experience in the future is like where you don't have to feel like you're missing out on anything, or you
right.
have to like be sidelined. You can get that whole experience. Just it's suitable for your diet.
I agree with you
Yeah.
100%, Sarla. That is the kind of the line we're walking in areas where it's new, where it's still kind of new for people. But I also think it's a mindset. I think we can also say, well, no, I'm not going to feel sad about it. I'm going to feel delighted that I am helping this restaurateur or this chef or this wait person to go, no, there's a lovely person here who would like to experience the ingredients, just not the animal products, but is delighted to be in France, is delighted to be learning from you. But because I agree, it was a learning curve for me. I felt, this is their patrimony, this is their heritage, these artisanal foods. And I did feel awkward about it. But at some point I'm just like, well, I guess I'm just going to have to feel awkward about it.
And you're right that it may be good for them too, because the world is changing. France is changing. We are very globalized through social media. I think the younger generation is becoming almost one culture. So I think it would be good for them to have more options and to have experience with someone coming in and going, actually, I don't, do you have another option for me? So that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you pick your battles, right, in this life and in what you, and your advocacy evolves. Listen, I'm 64. I just, what I was comfortable doing at 24 or 34 or 54 is different. So you use your time. That's what Veg Your Best is about, is we try to make the best choices we can always. And there's an ideal maybe that we want, but we don't have to punish ourselves around it. So
Yes.
tell me. So the next book, what will the topic be? Do you know? Is that decided yet?
I would really like to. I have lots of little book ideas in my head. For example, my daughter, she's 4. She really wants to do a little cookbook with me. And I think it'd be cool to write a book where it, like, because my daughter does love vegan food and she eats, mostly vegan, especially at home. But I've had parents ask me, how do you get your daughter to eat vegetables? My kid doesn't like vegetables. So an idea was to have all the recipes my daughter loves, uh, put them into a book. So like these are all great ways that child approved that your kid will eat vegetables. So that's one I have in mind, but that won't be like my next big book. For my next big book project, I would really like it to be almost like mastering the art of vegan French cooking, like the vegan version of that, just all around large resource based on, a lot of research and experience, which is why I want to take my time with it and get to know the culture in France and try more food, learn more, work with French people. So that's my goal.
Very ambitious, but that very necessary
Yes,
too.
very ambitious.
Yeah. And as for, I have 4 grandkids. One of them is still breastfeeding, so he's I guess vegan, but 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 the other ones are not vegan, but they are very, very vegetable forward. They all eat lots of vegetables. And I think, kids are all different.
Yeah,
obviously. They all have different textural issues and concerns. But if you just keep giving them vegetables and fruits and
right.
grains first, before
Yes.
before the other kinds of foods, they do develop a taste. Of course, I have one grandson who apparently he loves everything for 2 weeks, and then he doesn't want to look at it again. So they're all different. So no shaming any mom or grandmother who can't get their toddler to eat vegetables right now.
My daughter too. Like one week she loves mushrooms, the next week she hates them, and I try to keep it fun because it's with her. It's everything has to be fun. So I'm like,
Mm,
vegetables are the colors of the rainbow. Meat isn't color of the rainbow. Like I'm like, it's vegetables are cool, you
yeah,
know. And she's like, oh yeah, that's right, the colors of the rainbow, and she'll count all the colors on her plate. So that's a fun,
that's
putting
marvelous.
some
Yeah.
fun in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what else? So when are we going to look for your video about spring cooking? When is that hoping to come out? In April, would you say?
Yeah, maybe in April, maybe even in the end of March. I've already I'm just filming it this week and editing it, so it could be out in the next couple of weeks. That's what I'm hoping for,
Very
just in
nice.
time for the spring equinox. So yes, hopefully soon.
That's marvelous. And people can find you and keep up with you at saralaterpstra.com and on Sarala, it's SaralaTerpsta. We'll have all the links in the show notes, but that's also your Instagram. And is that where you're most visible
That's
is Instagram?
Yes, I'm the most active on Instagram. You can get in touch with me through my website, but Instagram, I'm on there every day. So, and I do share French culture and French life and other things besides cooking on there, if you're interested in just French culture in general.
Yeah, and they're beautiful photos, and you're a very photogenic young woman, and you're. I think it's a feast for the eyes if people go on your Instagram. They're really going to enjoy that. And where can we find? You can find vegan French favorites on Amazon easily, right?
And Barnes and Noble. Both Vegan French Favorites is on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and it's on a lot of other sites in the ebook version. The print is on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. And then the second one, Plant Soiree, is just on Amazon.
Amazon. It's really worth looking for all the Francophiles who feel like they can't have vegan food. They must take a look at least one of them. Start with one. Which one would you start with? Like, I think I was looking at them. I was trying to decide which one I'm going to. Plant Soiree. I mean, I really liked it. It made me feel like that's where I would invite people to join with me in eating.
Yeah, it's actually it's great to hear that from you because I don't always know what people want, and it depends because Plant Soiree, like you said, it's meant to be a social thing. The focus of Plant Soiree is about presentation and about hosting, really, like throwing a party. Because I've had people say, I don't know how to make vegan food for my friends. Like I struggle with throwing a vegan dinner party.
Mm.
And then the other one though is like if you want just classic French food made vegan, then I would definitely go with the vegan French favorites.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you go to, so you're in your small town in France with people who are going, what, vegan? When you bring, if now French people don't usually have many potlucks in my experience, but would you
Yeah.
bring a potluck? Would you bring a dish to share with people?
Yes, and actually, that is kind of how I do it. Like I find that it's easier to do that than to just say I'm vegan. Like it's
Mm,
easier just to not say anything, but just bring a vegan dish, and then they go,
mm,
"Oh, it's so good!" And it's always so flattering when a French person says that, and then I can go, "Oh," I usually preface it with like, "It doesn't." I don't say it's vegan. I say it doesn't have this, 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 and this in it, and then that kind of warms it up, and then I'm like, "Yeah, it's vegan," and then it kind of, it's. I try to play it cool. Just like that way it doesn't feel like an affront or
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it feels like we can ease into and have some fun in the conversation.
A
Yes.
stealth vegan. You're coming in sideways. What is a common dish that you bring that is a kind of an opener for you?
Oh, one of them, it's not healthy, and I usually try to focus on whole food, plant-based, healthy food. But one thing I love to bring, just because it's so easy and it's so French people recognize it immediately, is this. It's in my Plant Soiree book, but it's the pesto sun tart.
Oh, it was
So it's
beautiful looking.
yeah, it's really pretty and it's very easy to make. And it's just always a good conversation starter because it's fun looking. But it's 2 sheets of puff pastry, so it's not healthy, but it's an easy one to make vegan. And I can just go, yeah, actually, I didn't put cheese, I didn't put meat in it, you know, or it's vegan cheese, and people are like, oh, wow, it's really good. So
That's how we're with hearts and minds, right? We're trying to get them. Sarala, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to point everybody to your your Instagram, Sarala Terpstra, and your saralaterpstra.com website, and we'll put links to the books in the show notes and on our Instagram. And I wish you luck, and I hope you'll come back when you've got your next thing that's out in the public.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It's been really interesting and fun talking with you.
So what did you think of Sarala? I think sometimes it takes a little bravery to come on Veg Your Best and be transparent about where you maybe aren't vegan quite yet. And this is a good illustration, actually an excellent illustration of how a vegan journey ultimately needs to fit into your real life, or it's just not sustainable. And as previous guest Colleen Patrick Goudreau always says, don't do nothing because you can't do everything. Sarala has shared the thoughts that were still in the way of her veganism at the time of our conversation about being guests in France, trying to assimilate her daughter into a French school, and being respectful of her host country. And in the meantime, she just keeps veganizing French cuisine and being a passionate amateur in that very French sense of the word, a lover of France and French style. Sarala's Instagram feed is a dream. I hope you're going to follow her and look at the recipes. And of course, her 2 books. Vegan French Favorites was her first, I think, and then The Plant Soirée, about the art of entertaining. And now you can take a cooking class online with Sarala Terpstra, and that link will be in the show notes. Now, update. Since we recorded this, Sarala and her family have moved to the city of Bourdeaux, where being vegan and plant-based is quite a bit less daunting. So Sarala has told me she'll be back later in the year to give us an update. And in the meantime, honestly, I really recommend you follow Sarala Terpstra on Instagram. Those photos of eating seasonally and simply, honestly, a feast for the eyes. So wherever you are, my Veg Your Bestie, if you find yourself in a place, a country, a situation with people where you just don't see how you can make exclusively plant-based or vegan choices, I hope that you don't use that as a reason to abandon the whole thing. Please keep making all the choices that you can. And if there's an area of choosing vegan or plant-based that you're finding especially daunting, let's jump on a call. That's what I do. Free call or an email. Maybe we can come up with a strategy together. Most of the vegan choices I make now, honestly, once upon a time, they were cumbersome and awkward and fueled by doubt. It's easier now. Sometimes it's effortless. We don't have to fix it all at once to make a really big difference. Okay, remember, Sarala Terpstra, her links are in the show notes. And until next week, veg your best. Veg Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.